Good morning. By a show of hands, how many of you would you consider yourself an entrepreneur? By a show of hands, how many of you have a business right now that is bringing in money to help you do the things you want to do in life? How many of you are looking for a better outcome in your life through building means that you control? I'd hope everyone. All right, so when opportunity knocks, who here has asked for an opportunity? Whether that be a job opportunity or an opportunity for something new in life. By a show of hands, how many of you guys have done this? So I'm a firm believer that opportunities are given to us each and every day, yet oftentimes we aren't able to analyze them and actually act on them. And so hopefully by the end of the presentation today, you'll see just a couple of stories of where you can quickly analyze an opportunity and turn it into one that can grow your life into the one that you want to do. Opportunity is defined two ways according to Google. It's a set of circumstances that make it possible to do something, or a chance for employment or promotion. So when we're talking about opportunity, we'll use this as a baseline. Either a new opportunity of employment or promotion, or a set of circumstances that make it possible to do something. So who am I? Why am I credible? Why should you listen to me? I started my first business at 10. But I found out recently that maybe I started my first business at the age of like 6 or 7 when my mom made me be a paper boy with her. So I learned about that this week and I forgot about that. But my first company that I can really remember was at the age of 10. My mom and dad didn't grow up very wealthy, really tried doing whatever they could to make my brother, my sister, and I have the best lives possible. And so my allowance money wasn't that much, but my grandma would send me $100 every year. And so on my 10th birthday, she sent me $100, and instead of just putting that in the bank or buying a video game or buying cookies or whatever a 10-year-old does, I bought a lawnmower and I went around the neighborhood and looked for people whose yards needed to be mowed. And I did that for about 2 or 3 years, expanded that business and started doing other different things. Business can be that simple. People are looking for things to be solved. And oftentimes we try and overcomplicate things. And so while thinking throughout the day, think of the lawnmower effect. What can we do to solve a problem today? And so there are 3 types of opportunities. One that is given to us, one that we want to create, and one that we see fit. And so these are different type of things. So I started a swim team back in 2007, worked at Domino's through high school, graduated from West Virginia University. Anyone go there? One? Yes. Good man. When I graduated college, moved down here to work at the CBS affiliate here, then helped grow a website consultancy from a little bit of money to over 7 figures over a few years. And while I was doing that, saw a huge hole in the market for entrepreneurs. As someone who was becoming one again, the resources that were there weren't the things that I thought were going to help me grow the way that I wanted to. So I would call other entrepreneurs and say, I'm going to buy you a case of beer, come to my office, and we'll just meet. And so what I saw was that people were looking for this thing that was curated, that wasn't some government-backed initiative that said this is the thing you have to do. Instead, it was for entrepreneurs, by entrepreneurs. So I was getting the correct context instead of hearing what was read in a book by someone who actually had done it before. So I think context is extremely important. You can ask advice from anyone, but if that person's never done it themselves, it might not be as valid. An example I like to use a lot is if you're looking to raise money, don't ask someone who's never raised money or given money out that question. as crazy as it seems, people love to give us advice. But oftentimes, they don't know what they're doing or have never done it before, yet we take their answers and think that it's the correct context, but actually it could be hurting us. So ask for advice all day, but get the right advice from the person who's done it before. So those meetups went really, really well. We turned that into let's build a company in a weekend competition. We did this thing called Start Norfolk. We've since retired it, but we did it 5 times. 1,000 people showed up. 400 different business ideas were pitched. And during that time, saw a really huge hole for entrepreneurs and said, what would happen if we created a company to really fill that hole for entrepreneurs? And so that's when Hatch got started. And then since then, we've done a lot of programs and initiatives to really hone in on business-like things. So people are really good at one technical trait, and we're really good at helping businesses start and make money. So we're kind of that side of it. So if you can build a car, you'll probably come to us to try and give you the tools to help you sell it. Or if you create a 3D printer, but you don't know how to sell it, you come to us and we help you with the tools to do that. We also invest in 13 companies, $10,000 to $30,000 checks for each of them. And some of those companies are doing well. Some of them have realized that business isn't their thing. And that's okay, that's the risk we take. We did this event last year called the State of the Startup Community Address, which is our version of the State of the Region, State of the Cities. And it's the good, the bad, and the ugly of really where our local startup community is. So anywhere from Williamsburg to Emporia to the Eastern Shore down to Virginia Beach. And then recently, and I'll tell you a little story about this later, I became the host of a TV show called Hampton Roads Business Weekly. Anyone here ever watched it? A couple people, thank you. Every Sunday at 9 on ABC here. So customer discovery. How many of you guys have ever started a company or thought about starting a company without asking a simple question? Anyone? So customer discovery is the process of learning as much about a specific topic or business as possible before you do this thing, by learning as much about how people use or may want to use a specific topic or product, and analyzing the advantages and disadvantages. Questions to consider. What do I say? Who do I say it to? Really, that context thing is really important. How do I learn as much as possible about them? And how can I learn about their pain points? So oftentimes people will say, well, I should just build this thing, they'll come and I'll figure out all that stuff later. And that sounds like a great idea, right? But how many of you guys change the channel on your TVs every time a commercial comes on? Or scroll through an ad on Facebook? Or don't want to see that advertisement that you saw everywhere when you drove in today? So if that's the premise, that ads are everywhere and I'm not in the mood to do that thing, then why would we start a business knowing that that's the case? Instead, find the people who are looking for what I can give them and provide them that information. So does everyone agree that we change the channels a lot on TV, or when we're online that we aren't always in the buying mood? So knowing that, don't make the assumption that if I just put it on TV or put it online or just build it, that everything will work out. Because what you'll find is that you waste a lot of time, probably a lot of money, to find out that no one really wanted it. Here's what you don't want to do. The number one question to never ask is this: don't you think X sucks? I'll change X to, don't you think QuickBooks sucks? Don't you think that this company is terrible? The reason why is because you know what the answer is going to be there. The answer is always going to be yes or no. It doesn't get you any inside information. The person probably doesn't actually hate QuickBooks. They hate the process that they have to do to figure out the management of the accounting, yet you didn't dive deep enough into the question so that you're getting an answer that is misleading, so you can't really figure out the answer. Don't you think QuickBooks sucks? Wouldn't you like a solution that did all of your accounting stuff for you? Of course, but that doesn't solve a problem. That just gives you an answer that you already knew the answer was. And so instead, you want to ask questions that get direct answers, or go onto message boards or see where people are having questions online or in person that are looking for solutions for a specific topic. The purpose of this is to gain as much detailed information about how a business or consumer is using a specific product, tool, or service. Oftentimes, people think something is a big pain point. So a pain point is, I hate doing this thing every day. It's really difficult for me to get through this specific thing every day. How can I find a solution to fix it? I'm a firm believer that if something is a big enough pain, the money associated with it, anyone will pay. So if something is that bad, they will pay for it. So a lot of people think about, how do I price this thing? How to do all those things? Don't worry about that right now. Pick a number, right? Do you break even? Do you make a little money on it? That's fine. Pick a number. But when starting a business, figuring out what people really need is extremely important. This is a picture of myself, my brother, my sister, and my mom. And I like to call this the mom effect. Back to context. In 7th grade, my entire life I'd grown up singing, and I thought I was a wonderful singer. In 7th grade, chorus tryouts in April. Super excited. I've been practicing. My mom's like, you're doing great. You're awesome. You're going to win. I get up there just in front of a group like this, and the chorus teacher says, stop. You're done. I was terrible. I was a terrible singer. Imagine the worst American Idol tryout you've ever seen. I wasn't that bad, but maybe 1 point above it. The reason I explain this is oftentimes we'll go talk to people and think that they are our customer or potential customer when they're really your mom. Even this, I went home this weekend and saw my mom, and she did it again. I even tell her this story. I'm bringing you in a slideshow. I'm doing a presentation on Tuesday. I'm going to talk about you. This is what's going to happen. She was like, but you are a great singer, Zach. And I'm like, Mom, I'm not. I'm not a good singer. So it's really easy for someone to say yes, or I will give you this thing when you do this thing. It's really difficult to say, give me $1 for that. No, really, give me the $1 for it, right? It's really difficult to get that transaction, that $1 out of someone, right? People love to say yes. It's easy to say yes. It's really easy for someone to sign up for your email and do nothing with it. The transaction piece of money happens when someone values what you do, that you solve the pain point enough that they're willing to go for it. So when you talk to someone, really understand if they're ever going to be your customer or not. I'm not saying that you're not going to have moms in your life that do things, because you absolutely will. But try to analyze and realize when your mom comes up that she's not your customer. That is, unless you're selling to moms, obviously. So if you're selling to moms, go for the moms. But the mom effect is when you get context wrong, or asking people the wrong person the right thing, getting an answer, and building a business off of inaccurate information. I'm going to tell the story of 3 ideas or businesses, and then we'll take questions. So back in March of 2013, there was a young lad named Ian, and he was at home. It was late at night, and he was lazy and was playing video games and ran out of pizza and ginger ale and wanted more of those things and didn't want to call the delivery, or the delivery thing was over, and didn't know how to get that stuff delivered to him. And so he said, wouldn't it be nice if I could get things that I don't normally get delivered to me at any time of day? And so the premise that he came up with was, people are lazy, is the assumption, right? People want things delivered. Those are the 2 assumptions. And take that and saying, well, I could potentially build a courier company that would deliver anything to anyone so that when they need something, they can get it. Think Amazon Prime, but localized on a bike. So this is what he came up with. Instead of spending a lot of money or going out and creating an ad campaign, he went where people are, printed off this piece of paper, and said, get anything that you want delivered. This is what he's going to do to validate his idea. There's the phone number that he created, so he created a Google Voice account. What tools are in your pocket that you can figure out if you can validate something immediately? And so by doing this, he went on a college campus where it was very dense and found people that were very busy, that needed things to be delivered. And in one weekend made $250, $5 a transaction. And so I love this story because he used something that we all have. Whether or not we have a printer, ink, and paper or not, we all have pen and paper. He figured out if people really were lazy enough that they would pay for something. And so Ian is actually right here. This is him. He started it. This went on to have about 20 employees and did very well up until this past summer when he sold it to one of his writers to focus on another pain point that he saw building the software that was needed to actually develop this at a later time. And so from a piece of paper to 20 employees to now focusing on the software, start small. Stop thinking of the big idea. Stop listening to what the news is telling you. Stop watching Shark Tank. Focus on the core, right? Because that's what it is. Don't think about what Facebook is today. Think about what Facebook was in 2004 when none of you were on it, right? Start small. There's 3 questions to be thinking about in this process. What problem are you solving? How do you solve it? And who can you immediately serve? So we put on this event last year called the State of the Startup Community Address. Went well, 150 people went to it. We printed off 2 shirts. 2 shirts, spent $40 on this shirt. And a lot of people come up to me afterwards like, I want that shirt, I want this shirt. I gotta get that shirt. So we could have printed off shirts and sold them at the event. Or we could have spent a lot of money to print them out, create a website so that you can do all these things. Or you can do what we did, which was send out an email that said, if you want this shirt, go to this site and buy it. So there's a site out there that already prints on demand. It's called TeePublic. And so for us to have printed this off, we would have had to have printed at least 32 shirts at about $10 a shirt, $320 to do all those things, figuring out all the marketing behind it. So we just sent out the link through social media a couple times, and to the people who actually went to the event that asked for it, and then kind of bulk-wise to the people who went to the event. And we sold 3 shirts. So, in theory, sometimes people say, I want that shirt. We could have spent money to do it, and only a couple people have bought it. Tim is one of them. Thank you, Tim. But again, context is so important. Just because someone says they want to do this thing doesn't mean they're going to do it. Now, some people would probably say, well, if it was there, they might have bought it. Yes. But have any of you guys ever tried selling t-shirts at a conference? Oh, this isn't the right size, or I want to haggle prices. I want this to be, $15 instead of $20. We just want to give someone a shirt, and make it as easy as streamlined as possible. And so, the reason I tell you this story is because people were telling us this is what you want. The link is still available right now. We haven't sold more shirts. Don't waste your time on something that people really don't want. Don't confuse something that's cool with something that isn't needed. A lot of people say, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we had this? But when they develop it, no sales, no transactions are made because it really didn't solve a problem or people didn't value it that much. You need to ask a lot of questions. Really figure out who your target market is and what they're looking for. So about this time last year, we came up with this idea that instead of just investing in companies like we had for the previous 2 years, or just do events for people, what can we do to have an ongoing kind of ecosystem of content that we curated that we would provide to people? So we came up with this idea called 1004, which the numbers are our goal. So we're being very transparent. We're trying to start and grow 1,004 employee companies. The reason this came up was because I was at an event similar to this, and someone said, all our region needs is 4 1,000 employee companies to move here, and we would be gold. Literally, this is what the leaders of our area are saying. If we could just recruit a big company to move here, all of our problems would be solved. And I said, I'm going to call BS on this and say, I think we should create a more fertile environment that is more startup friendly. So let's try and start 1,000 4-employee companies so that when those big companies come, they have a talent feed to buy off of. And so we started a program called 1004 that basically delivers curated content to our members. And that's it. And so that was the premise, is we have educational things that we can give you, and we don't know how we're going to get it to you, but we're going to put together this email of people who are in our wheelhouse that we think might be interested in it, and see what happens. So we sent this email out in a series of texts to people that we had ties to, and offered lifetime value for $125 to be a part of this thing that we had no idea what it was going to look like yet. We had an idea, but we really didn't know what it was going to look like. And so 10 people signed up in 7 days, and we made whatever 10 times 125 is, $1,250. And so to us, we validated that idea because enough people had bought this thing that we felt that we could continue moving forward with it. Had no one signed up, kind of like the whale hunting t-shirt, here's what we would have done. Here's your money back. Don't spend the money if you haven't validated something yet. But it is that simple. Once you validate something, then you continue to do it. If you don't validate something, give people the money back. And so for about 6 months, we were trying to figure out what does this thing really do? We figured out the process and really figured out what this program does. And so it's basically webinars on demand, workshops on demand, so Netflix for business. So people are busy, but people need knowledge. So how can we give them curated business workshops at any time? And so basically this is what we gave them from this. So we had no idea what it was, but we knew the people were there, and we started getting customers, and we asked them, what do you want more of? And so we came up with the idea of on-demand workshops, because that's what our customers basically were asking for. So last story is I'm pitching a business to Channel 13, ABC 13 in this market to buy. It's a company called Tunnel Traffic. So obviously there's a lot of traffic in the tunnels in this area, and it's an application that tells you where the traffic is or not in kind of a fun, user-friendly way. And so the TV station traffic department is using this app to say whether or not you have traffic or not in the mornings. We said, maybe there's interest to buy this company. And so Jeremy and I go and meet with the president, who I have a relationship with, and say, or she says, well, what do you guys really want out today? And we say, well, maybe you want to buy the company. And Jeremy throws out a number. I don't remember what the number is. It wasn't too crazy. It wasn't like $10 billion. And says, this is what it is. And she balks at that. She says, no, we can't do that. But then she said, we're starting a TV show. I'd love to get your feedback about what we're doing. And she tells us a little about it, 30-minute show, weekly business show. Who could be a host? Who do you think could be a host? And I have 2 seconds to answer this question. And I think the key to opportunity is analyzing situations as soon as they come. Remember, the first thing I said was, who here has asked for an opportunity? So I raised my hand. And I said, I think I could be a good host. Have no idea what that looks like. Have no idea how much money it would be. Have no idea how I would do it. Still have to manage a company, employees, all that stuff. But I see an opportunity. And I raised my hand. And I think oftentimes in life, we don't raise our hand enough. We need to be more selfish. I told this story to my mom recently. My mom's getting a lot of love today. And she said, someone was praying, saying, God, come get me in a storm. And 3 people, 3 locals in little boats came up to try and save this person. And the person at the home said no every time. And the story goes on, this person dies and says, well, God, you never brought the person. And he goes, I gave you 3 times. You didn't take it. Whether you're spiritual or not, opportunities are coming in front of us, and we don't really know what we're going to do with them. But that's for us to do. That's for us to raise our hands. What can you do when an opportunity comes up? Opportunities happen every day. It's what you do with them that matters. So the next time someone asks you to do something or something could potentially happen, raise your hand. Don't just say no. And that's it. If you guys want to find our stuff online, this is where you can find us. And I'm on this big kick about Netflix and chill real quick. So there's a big thing on Netflix recently where people say Netflix and chill. So go, kick back, watch Netflix and do all this stuff. It'll be great. If you want to be successful in life, it's about the activity that you put into it. If you put in 1 hour and expect to get $1 million in return, you're not going to. It's about taking the opportunity that is given to you and busting your tail until you receive that end goal.